Hello everybody, welcome to another rapid speedrun game. What are we supposed to play? Okay, Queen's Gambit declined against Charlie Medina, rated 1486, but he stays flexible and develops the knight first and the pawn. So not the Queen's Gambit declined. So because he didn't pressure my center immediately, I'm going to pressure his. Now he counter pressures, but no big deal. We can give him an isolated pawn, or we can take on an isolated pawn position by just exchanging everything in the center. I'm going to just take his central pawn with my flank pawn, and he recaptures with the knight, not the pawn. This is a weird decision because it does not open up his bishop, and I can harass this knight further. So let's put another pawn in the center and kick the knight away, mostly just to open up our bishop with energy, with time. He retreats his knight to a very awkward square. I don't think it's that good. I want a castle, but I might as well do it quickly with a check. He defends with the bishop. Makes sense. I'll just develop a new piece and just apply pressure and defend at the same time. So now he's forcing the issue, so let's take the bishop. He takes with the knight. So now we have the opportunity to castle, and we're ready to bring out our last two pieces and play a nice game. Meanwhile, he's still 3 moves away from castling, so that's good for us. This pawn seems to be hanging because the knight's pinned. Although he does want a fianchetto, so so I'm just going to take the free pawn. It's material. He goes here, which is weird because he just gave me a pass pawn. But he's blocking this. So he's unpinning the knight. We could just keep the pawn by taking on passant, but if we want to keep this pawn specifically, instead of just being a pawn up, I guess you can move the queen here to defend, but this looks like a lot of work for no reason. I'm just going to en passant. I don't really want to defend stuff. He can only take back with the queen, which is fine and doesn't threaten anything. We can continue developing. And the queen, one of the drawbacks of moving it is it undefends the knight. So we can even improve for free. Let's do that before we do anything else and develop the other knight, which is very logical. Let's get in the free move. I like this because it's going to force him to do something. So he goes for the queen trade, but we're up a pawn. So I'm not averse to this. So I'm going to do it because logically I should. Okay, so now we have a 2-on-1. So in a king and pawn endgame, we automatically win. Can we achieve a king and pawn endgame? Well, our knight's hanging. I'd prefer if it wasn't. Let's get closer to that king and pawn endgame. Now we can develop for free. Down the center with the rook. He goes back. He can't castle, right? And we get to continue developing. Can we develop with a threat? Well, not this guy, but yes, this guy. So we bring the knight out. He pushes, but he doesn't have very far to go. So he's kind of fixing his own pawn. Not the best idea. Our knight's hit. We can't go here forward, but we can go here forward. It also happens to come with a threat and none of the threat. He just auto fianchettos and walks right into the fork. So let's do that. The game is over and Charlie Medina has collapsed. So he resigns, which is a good call. Might as well analyze and go to the next game. So he plays d4. We made it with d5, trying to prepare for Queen's Gambit. But he doesn't go for it. So now we just develop and center. Now we attack center and development. Now we take a central pawn for a flank pawn. We're also avoiding any isolated queen's pawn scenarios where he takes this. How does that work again? He takes this and pushes, or takes. I don't know. My brain's not working, but you can definitely be left with an isolated queen pawn when there's this block right here. I forget the exact sequence, but in any case, we're taking a central pawn with a flank pawn, so it can't be bad for us. Now, if he's supposed to take with the pawn and open up his bishop, saying that was the drawback of my move, is that I help his bishop, but instead he takes with the knight, which is weird because now we just get center and development for free. He goes back, development for free. Now, development and center and defense. Okay, force move. And it's just an equal game, but I'd rather be black. Why? Because although the engine says it's zeros, the whole game it has been just zeros more or less. We have a pawn duo in the center, our knight on its favorite square, a bishop with an open diagonal. This knight's going to go to its favorite square. Our queen's active, we're castled. These rooks not on, I mean these knights not on their favorite square. His bishop no open diagonal. His king not castled. So it's actually surprising the engine doesn't give any number, any advantage to black, but that's only if white's going to play very accurately with his next few moves, which is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world. Immediately he goes for what might be the most natural move. When you see that this is blocked, you figure this might be the best move, so he goes for it. Immediately a mistake. So we just grab free stuff, and then he tries to break the pin on the knight, and it says blunder immediately. We en passant maintaining the pin, maintaining our extra pawn, and you see how quickly it goes from even game to -3. And what really changed? He moved his pawn, his queen's here, but more or less the position looks the same, but now all of a sudden it's losing. And that's because mostly of this pin, super annoying, and my position's a lot better. So now I improve a piece for free. He stops that idea, but by trading queens, he's kind of sealing his own fate, as the queen is the piece he needs to create complications to get back in the game. So we trade. And now I make further trades because trades are wins. Now I get to improve a piece for free. Now I get to develop for free. Forced move for free, -5. And then he hangs the fork. So with a 14th center pawn loss, no mistakes and no blunders, we have a 95 accuracy. And this guy made it, it's a little bit tense of a situation when you have 4 pawns like this, but one good thing to know is whether he takes you or you take him, it's fine for both sides, regardless of who does what. Some people prefer to be the one that takes everything first. Some people, they don't like to take. They like to wait for the bishop to develop first and then take. You could do it in any order and all the orders work, but there's nuances here and there. But either way, it doesn't really matter. You know that once this is all going to liquidate at some point, or maybe one pawn will be left for one side, even though I couldn't figure out the sequence. And you could just play that. In any case, pretty easy game. Submit your rapid games in my Discord. Goodbye.